evening, everyone. Welcome to another all-new episode of the LoudCasa Talks, mini episode as we review episodes of the Loud House tonight. My name is Nate. Alongside on my right is Omid. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Loud Crown Casa crew? How are you all doing? This is our first ever episode of 2022, baby.
I want to say a LoudCasa Talks episode. This is more of like our episode reviews, mini episode that we keep on doing. So, you know what? We're behind on episodes like Loud House and Casa Grande's episodes. There's a lot of Loud House episodes that aired that we haven't actually reviewed, so that's why we need to like catch up right now. So Omid, how have you been? How was New Year's? How was Christmas?
Oh, both are pretty good. Both are fantastic. So on Christmas, of course, I got up on Christmas morning, opened up some Christmas gifts, and of course, I watched a couple Christmas movies. I watched Bad Santa with my family,
Nice.
and I watched Elf by myself. Both are hilarious and memorable Christmas movies, of course. And in terms of New Year's, so for New Year's Eve, I went to a friend's small New Year's Eve party. It was pretty fun.
Nice. That's good to hear. Christmas has been fun. I actually was weird. I don't know if it was actually really fun because considering that we would have actually missed our sister hanging out this Christmas because she actually had COVID too. So that was before Christmas, but she was able to actually be negative on Christmas Day, so we were able to actually hang out with her on Christmas. But the day after Christmas, is when we actually hanged out with family. So that's how things have changed because people are testing positive, so it's weird. And then on New Year's, we head out with a friend. We went to our own like place. We went to my friend's like parents' place, and what happened was we just hanged out for fun. And also the other thing too is that my birthday is also on the 2nd, and overall it was actually not bad. We literally didn't go anywhere. We mostly just stayed at the house, just chill, just watch TV, watch movies, and then had a birthday celebration where I literally had a cupcake, and then headed back home right after that. So yeah, that was pretty much how New Year's and Christmas went. But you know what? I still had some fun. If you see what's happening up here, I just changed my stream room. A lot of things popped up. If you noticed which shows they're from, then you'll understand what kind of a fan I am.
Yeah, the background says it all. Yeah. By the way, glad you guys had fun on New Year's.
Yeah. Also, like Christmas gift was that Rick and Morty. Like, I don't know what that is. And then this Owl House, towel blanket was a Christmas gift brought for my friend. So to say the least, everything's a little bit decorative right now. As I try to clean up this area.
Yo, that's a good ass friend right there, man. Bringing you Owl House merch for Christmas, dude. That's an awesome dude right there.
I know, right? I know it was a surprise because like I literally like I didn't know he was my Secret Santa, so I opened it up and he gave me like a Little Witch Academia calendar, Metroid Dread, and then of course the Owl House blanket. And I was surprised when I saw it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna give me this, which is awesome because Owl House is currently on hiatus, and this is something that can help me out.
Yeah. The sooner we get out of hiatus, the better. I'm just saying.
I know, right? Okay, so this is not a LoudCast Talk episode, but we want to catch up because last week we had some football games that we had to talk about. Let's do our NFL update right now because football happened. Saturday, the Omid's Raiders played the Bengals, and unfortunately, the outcome for that game was not good. Omid, can you explain your thoughts on the game? How was it for you? What are your thoughts about the game?
I'd rather not talk about it, but on a serious note, though, it was a pretty tight game overall. I mean, at least we came close, but god damn, these refs screwed us.
Do you think it's the refs' fault, or is it just more of like, oh, we slipped up?
Okay.
No, you're right. There's that one call that was the out of bounds call that could have not been a touchdown, but yeah, maybe the Raiders could have actually made it through. They could have played like the Chiefs right now.
Yeah, we got screwed over. I'm just saying. So honestly, while it was like, at least we made it to playoffs, but still, though, man, hurts all around.
Right. But here's the other thing too. I mean, you guys made the playoffs, so at least that's something fun to watch. You made it to the playoffs. That's at least one thing to be happy about.
Exactly.
All right. Then, of course, Sunday, we actually did have a game on Nickelodeon, which is actually my team, the 49ers. By the way, 49ers, yeah, baby, that's my team. They played off against the Cowboys, and it was the most exciting game this whole entire weekend.
And it was on Nickelodeon. It was on
Yeah,
Nickelodeon
and it
too.
was on Nickelodeon, and it was absolutely fun to watch. Considering what happened in the Nickelodeon broadcast, you saw like Lincoln getting in the football. You guys saw Ronnie Yen on the field. You saw like Loud Casa characters pretty much all over all over Dallas. I mean, you were watching the whole entire Nickelodeon broadcast. How was it when you watched it over there?
It was pretty fun watching on Nickelodeon. I was sort of like on the lookout for Loud House Easter eggs and all this stuff. And the moment I saw Ronnie Yen dancing in the field, I was like squealing with joy. But then at the same time, I'm just like, Ronnie Yen, get out of the field. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get travelers and stuff.
I know, but at the same time, it's just it's just cartoons. It's not the real thing. I'm pretty sure Ronnie Ann will not get run over. But yeah, Niners made it through the next round. We're going to play Green Bay Packers. I hope they win, but who knows?
I'm happy for you, but at the same time, I'm really, really,
I
jealous
understand
of you.
Raiders didn't
I'm
make it.
jealous of you,
I
man.
understand Raiders didn't make it, but you now got to pick a team who's going to be in the Super Bowl now. So, Omid, who you're picking to be in the Super Bowl now?
Honestly, if I really had to choose, it'd probably be the Rams.
You
Honestly,
want the Rams? Okay. You want the Rams just because you want some free Hell's Kitchen later?
yes. Yo, that free beef Wellington, that free beef Wellington.
I mean, Big Wellington is a really good stuff. I actually haven't tried that out, but you did before when you actually visited that spot one time.
Yeah, it was really the beef Wellington was just some good funky food.
All right, but yeah, that was a good fun weekend. I do have to bring up one more thing before we start our episode reviews. I do want to let you know that my update about COVID-19. I think some of you already noticed that I was tested positive. It's weird because I actually tested positive the day after my birthday, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's like, oh, what a birthday gift, getting COVID. What the fuck? So
Yeah, man.
it was a terrible time for me to actually get it, considering that I was positive on the third. ALA happened on the 6th, and I couldn't be able to make it because I was positive, obviously. So I had to cancel that plan. I had to cancel like pretty much my vacation to Los Angeles just to have just have fun at a convention. To say the least, it was heartbreaking for me because I actually, when you test positive, it's weird considering that you have to actually tell everybody that you're with that you're positive. So I had to tell my friends, I had to tell like the people that I was gonna go with to ALA, tell them that the flight is canceled for me. How are you gonna get down there now? I had to tell my boss who was going to be my head in ALA, just tell him like I couldn't be able to make it anymore because I am positive. But here's the other thing about it. People were saying that it's good for you that you actually said it because it's awareness. Because it'd be really a douchebag move if you actually just say like, "Hey, I was positive then. I didn't tell you," and then obviously they're gonna hate you because they're not telling you. And then that's a bad thing. Um, but the symptoms that I got were pretty much a congested nose and a sore throat. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad like case of COVID. Like I didn't have any breathing problems. I didn't have any loss of taste or smell. But it was I have it, so it's positive. So the thing is like, oh, am I really going to have like a bad situation? But what I literally had to do was just go through cold medicine. So I literally picked up like cold medicine, just drank through that, drank a lot of fluids, and pretty much quarantined myself. It sucks considering that you got to spend like 10 days without seeing anybody. So I couldn't even see my family. I couldn't even see my sister or anything like that. So it was just hard that whole 10 days of quarantine. But you know what? I survived it. I'm COVID free. I'm negative now. So to say the least, it was a hard run of 10 days, but I was able to actually make it out. So it was crazy, but I'm COVID free now, and it just tells you a lesson that this is still going on right now.
Yeah, man. Like when you broke the news to me, like, dude, I was like heartbroken, man. Like, dude, it broke my heart that you went through this, man.
It was weird because like I know you're already planning up like plans to say, "Hey Nate, let's go watch a movie," and I'm like, "How can I break this news to you when you started putting up all this?"
Yeah, I know. But so when I heard the news, I was just like, okay, you know what? Like, I'll just go ahead and just postpone our plans to whenever you feel better. And thankfully, I'm so glad you feel better right now. So glad you're COVID
Yeah,
negative right now.
but here's the other thing too. I'm gonna be more aware now of like my surroundings, so that's why I'm wearing like N95 masks. Just wearing my mask everywhere now, just because it's just crazy what's been happening here.
It really is, yeah. You sort of hope that this, huge Omicron surge like dies down sooner or later.
That it's raging on right now. So, like I said, just stay negative. I know that we're getting tests a lot. I know that we're getting free tests too, so that's a good sign. But at the same time, it just stinks when you actually start testing positive and then you got to quarantine for 10 days, which is terrible.
Yeah, man, it really is, man. But it's over with now. Like I'm so glad the quarantine's over now.
Yeah, I'm just happy. Nonetheless, thank you for everybody who was like giving me prayers, keeping me in your prayers, and just keeping me healthy. But overall, I was able to withstand the COVID infection. I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah, man, we're all happy for you about that, man.
All right, yeah, I know it's somber news, but to say the least, it's actually pretty positive that I actually got out of COVID. So yeah, just as heads up, guys, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not sick. Okay, I'm not sick. All right. Besides, it's kind of a weird transition. We're gonna go straight to the episode reviews right now, but let's go on a happy note and actually just go straight to our episode reviews. I started off with the first episode that came out on the what day? What was our date? Oh yeah, on the 12th of November. See, we were so behind, we totally forgot about what episodes came out last year. So let's start it out with Loudly Bones. It was only a 15-minute episode, but let's go ahead and review it. The synopsis here says Lisa discovers that the bone she found in her backyard isn't what she seems it to be. So FYI, this is another Lisa Loud episode. And to be honest, we've been getting this a lot this year. We've got what Blinded by Science. You've gotten School of Shock. Then you also got Dream a Lily Dream. To say the least, this is another Lisa episode that I think is interesting. Why are we having more Lisa episodes? I'm guessing we're trying to make her character better. Omid, how did you like the fact that we actually have another Lisa episode here?
While Lisa isn't necessarily my favorite Loud of the show, I mean, I don't hate her, of course, don't get me wrong. I really do like Lisa. It's just that I prefer most of her siblings over her. Now, like with that said, I have to say I am interested. Especially since Lisa Loud herself has been in her best at season 5. I mean it. Like, for better or for blinded by science. She's always managed to show her compassion towards others in the episodes that she's starring in, especially like whether it be Lynn, whether it be Lily, or you know what? I'm just going to mention these two because one other particular example is not worth mentioning or caring about. And let me tell you, The Loudly Bones is no exception. This is a pretty great Lisa episode. While not the strongest, that would be Dream a Lily Dream, it still stands out as being a well-written episode starring our child prodigy.
Listen. All the Lisa episodes that came out mostly had a loud sibling. You're right, because you had Friday Night Fights with Lynn. Then you also had Dribble Lily Dream with Lily. So the whole chemistry of actually having Lisa have her own episodes, like have her own environment, have always been how you say declining. I mean, School of Shock was not bad of an episode, but Blind by Science definitely was a bad episode. But so bringing her back into having her own episode just tells me like, oh, is this going to be a good one? Is this going to be another bad one? But once we watched the episode, it actually turned out to be pretty interesting. Like pretty interesting to say.
Definitely, I agree.
So let's head over to the episode because the episode goes straight to the point. In the beginning, where Lisa would find a bone, I would assume it would be a dinosaur bone based off her analysis. When she actually published this finding to the scientists, it would become a trending topic, making her popular. So, how'd you like this beginning sequence of the episode where Lisa became like a popular star based off the findings that she got from that bone?
I was generally happy for her. Of course, her siblings don't give a crap about bones, as apparently mind-numbing reality TV shows are much more valuable than scientific discoveries, according to what they say. But hey, what do I know, right? Anyways, the way Lisa posts about the bone, oh my god, like she goes all like social media on it, like she goes all Instagram on it, taking a selfie with it, sharing it with her online friends. Like, let me tell you, it totally gave me Instagram vibes. I am not gonna lie. So, like, I really do like how like this really does show Lisa trying to go viral on social media because we've all had that moment where we were like, oh my god, I gotta take a discovery of this. I'm gonna post about it, share it with my friends. I would know since I've been to many cons and I've met many,
too many cons. What cons? There are no cons right now.
Like as a con goer myself, I would know. Except instead of old bones, its awesome guest stars
Cosplay. It's more like cosplayers in this case.
and cosplayers too. Yeah, that those
um,
two.
what can I say about this part, the beginning part? I never expected Lisa to actually learn from Lori and Lenny, but apparently she can. See, since she's a 4-year-old and 5-year-old, and actually like can take selfies and actually trend on Twitter or on her like newsletter. Apparently, it did get a lot of people to actually like her findings. So it's interesting because it's like, yeah, she's a scientist for one, but at the same time, she could also be a lovable girl that can also get into the trends. So, like for example, apparently getting into Instagram or becoming the next trending topic, which is interesting. I don't know if she would be like what was it, a viral person. I don't know what it called.
Trendy girl, right? Is it
Yeah,
trendy
I
girl
forgot. I
or
forgot what it was. What did Lenny say? She was a. I forgot. Remember, she said it over in How Double Dare You.
social influence? Was it
It's
social
an
media
influencer,
influencer?
influencer. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. This episode really does bring out the influencer in Lisa. This really does show that yes, she is the sister
See,
of Lori and Lenny,
It
like you
makes me.
just
It
pointed
makes me
out.
think. It makes me think. Do you think she would actually be a good influencer? Probably not. Just for science mostly.
Yeah, it's mostly just for science. It's not for any of the reasons that her siblings would get into.
Not really, not. I mean, I love the fact that like all the siblings are just like watching the Dreamboat instead of actually looking about bones. Oh, who care about science? Let's talk about drama, like the Dreamboat.
Yeah, they prefer like boats over bones.
I guess.
like while her siblings are watching the dream boat, Lisa is fangasming over the dream bone.
I see. I see what you're trying to put it there. All right. So now, what happened the next morning? Though she would discover that the bones were actually a mix-up of other bones, meaning her findings were actually false. But until she was about to tell everybody about it, the press was all over her about her findings, including a scientist named Dr. Alvarez. She would actually get a TV show because of this, and because of this, Lisa would hide the fact that her findings were false and continue to run with the popularity, including making her own show like Science. What is it? Facts Matter. That's what it's called. Yeah. um, Omid, explain your thoughts on Lisa's predicament here.
So let me get this straight. You're gonna lie about science in order to get kids into science. Doesn't that send some mixed signals? So this is where so this is the episode where Lisa puts aside her integrity in order to lie to become famous. And this is the start of Lisa learning an important lesson in remembering a key factor of science, and that is the truth.
Apparently, she's not actually learning the whole truth about this. She just loves the popularity. Oh, I don't know. I just feel like based on the popularity she gets from her posting, she would actually still continue to lie about this. And I feel this is like out of the way of Lisa. Like I never expected to see Lisa just try to be selfish here and try to just gain more popularity instead of actually speaking out the truth. As a scientist, aren't you supposed to be the one who actually says the truth here?
Well, let's face it, we all yearn to be famous. No matter how humble or modest we try to be, let me tell you, we crave for fame. We crave for clout. We crave for
Mhm.
that moment of glory. And with Lisa, and especially being at her age, let me tell you, honestly, I think this is something that's pretty natural to her character, especially when you consider
Mm.
the fact that, as we've seen in the beginning of the episode, like I said, her siblings don't really give a crap about her interests in science and stuff like that. So if Lisa can't, inspire, if Lisa can't bring inspiration of science to her family, she might as well give inspiration to her fans, which is other kids.
Mm. Either way, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're just a little kid who just wants to have the popularity on you. The other thing too is that I believe if she lied, she would still get the fame to actually showcase like all her science works. I mean, that show Facts Matters actually did pull off like her best experiments to say.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why she didn't just do that. But I guess, like I said, that moment of fame got into her head a bit too much that she didn't really think to do that.
Right, exactly. Either way, I mean, I guess fame got into her head, which is what you said, Omid. All right, so Lisa would give in, continue to make a show called Facts Matter, which would showcase experiments, and she became a big celebrity in Royal Woods. That is until Dr. Alvarez wanted to make an episode about the bone that she found and figured out its age because that was the experiment that Lisa was trying to find. Lisa is now in quite a predicament here where they would find out her findings are false, making her a fraud. So how'd you feel about Lisa here now in this big situation?
Yeah. Now, of course, I really do like that little part where when Dr. Alvarez shows up at the Loud House and then Lynn is like, ready to take her down, like, like, it really does show that protective side of Lisa, which I do admire. But at the same time, I was asking to Lynn, like, you know, come on, does Dr. Alvarez look harmful to you? She looks harmless, Lynn. Cut her some slack. But I
Mm,
do see what she was trying to do. Anyway, back onto the main plot. Now, when um, now when Dr. Alvarez says that she wants to figure out the bone age, that's when Lisa freaks out and decides to take extreme measures. I mean, very extreme measures in order to cover up her lie. And so, what she does now, we're gonna touch upon right now.
yep. Nothing much I can say here, but like Lisa pretty much put herself in the predicament, and this is what you get for lying, Lisa. Then again, she's probably learning by now. All right. So to hide the fact that her findings were false, she would take the bone from the T-Rex skeleton in the museum and place it with the bone that was false. So the next day, when the show was recording, the fake bone would break, making the T-Rex skeleton collapse, revealing the ruse that Lisa was in. Lisa would apologize to Dr. Alvarez for the ruse in the end. Her show would be canceled, but she would now do tours in the museum in order to get Dr. Alvarez's trust back. So let's talk about the final scene here. How'd you like this whole final sequence in the episode?
Okay, like I really do like that once her cover was blown, Lisa actually does fess up and confess to the lie that she told. And so Dr. Alvarez, of course, you know, while she doesn't give her a show back automatically, and rightfully so, she gives Lisa an opportunity to sort of redeem herself and put her scientific knowledge to good use. And that's when we see Lisa snatch the opportunity to become a museum tourist. Now, honestly, this is actually this is actually a really potential Loud House episode idea. Like, have Lisa give tours around the museum. You'll only be funny if by any chance that they could make some sort of like a night at the museum plot with Lisa. That'd be pretty dope.
Interesting. Actually, that would be a pretty good episode. Maybe you have to write that down for the Loud House writers. I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be cool to actually continue with a Lisa episode where she does tours around. It would just be a good sense of continuity with the fact that Lisa could just do tours with people, with like kids around the museum. And then she'll just brace out her scientific facts, and then a lot of people will be interested, that kind of thing. I think actually a good side job for Lisa. If we could ever like have an episode about that, that'd be awesome to see. But still, I mean, the truth is about to come out, and it came out in a way where somebody could have actually died. But nonetheless, Miss Alvarez actually turned out to become okay. When she actually revealed the truth, that was quite shocking. I mean, the other thing too is that Lisa had a great show. The thing is that the thing about the show was supposed to actually give people like kids the learning about science. That's the reason why her show became like a kid's hit to say, and that's her goal about this one too, because people don't care about science, as you saw from the beginning of the Loud House episode. So it made sense for Lisa to like express her knowledge and try to showcase it over in a TV show like this, get her popularity to come up. So I understand why Lisa was in this predicament, and I know that lying does suck, but at the end, she will not have that show. But at the same time, still spread the knowledge of her scientific knowledge, to the people over those museum, which is actually pretty cool. So nonetheless, yeah, she may have not gotten like the popularity that she would get. Nonetheless, and at the end, she still would share her knowledge to people in the museum at the end. Nonetheless, yeah, but yeah, I mean, would you say it's a good ending? The fact that she had that punishment.
I would say so, but at the same time, though, I feel like they could have shown more of a glimpse of Lisa actually giving a tour of the museum. Like that would have been really cool to see. Otherwise, this was a pretty good ending.
I would say, yeah, I would say a pretty good ending. Good stuff for Lisa. And to say the least, I would say a better episode for Lisa, considering all the episodes that we talked about for Lisa has been declining.
No, no,
Yeah,
Dream a Lily Dream. Remember, Dream a
I
Lily
remember that,
Dream
but that was
is
with
gold
Lily.
tier.
But that was with Lily. That's what made it. That's what made it special because it's with Lily. All right. Anything else you want to bring up in this episode before we get our ratings?
Um, Nothing much I want to say except, Loud House writers, please make, Night at the Museum episode with Lisa happen. You have the potential to do that.
One thing I want to bring up, I didn't know I would expect to see Lisa cosplayers.
Yeah,
Literally, there were a lot. There's a huge line of people who are like dressed up as Lisa, and I'm like, oh god, we have Lisa cosplayers. Oh no,
Lisa cosplayers, what's up? Like, how is it that we get more? There's more Loud House cosplayers in the Loud House than in reality. I mean, of course, I cosplay as Lynn Loud and you cosplay as Lars, but really, those are gender bent boys. I'm talking about like the actual
like yeah,
Loud
the
girls, the
actual
actual Loud
characters.
girls.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
actual. I swear to God, we gotta hopefully see like a cosplay of Lincoln or a cosplay of Rowdy Ann in the next convention we go to. I swear to God, it's gonna happen eventually.
Like
um,
if there's a Ronnie Ann cosplayer, I kind of want to cosplay Bobby alongside them.
oh, that'd be cute. Oh, that'd be cute. And then one other thing too is I swear to God, like Lisa and her robots are, I think, kind of getting into me. Like I kind of like the fact that she actually has a robot that's assisting them, like Todd, for example, in this episode.
Yeah, Todd actually turns out to be, a more memorable character than he was in the previous episodes. Like Todd actually plays a major role. Like he even played a role as her conscience at one point, saying, "Do you
Mm.
really want to be a liar, plans for hire? I mean, pants on fire." I almost said liar, plans for hire.
All right, Patrick Star. But yeah, I mean, with all the robots that she got, I'm guessing that this is how Lisa is going to be. Like, I would imagine, like like her in the Loud House will probably have like a lot of robots around. I don't know. It's probably going to grow onto me anyway. All right. So what's your rating on this episode?
I would also give it an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty great Lisa episode. Sure, Lisa made the wrong move to lie, even though she is a scientist, and most scientists are supposed to, tell the truth. But at least that she did her antics were quite fun to watch. And also the fact that you do see why Lisa decided to go that route, especially given the beginning. And also the ending, while I felt that like they could have done more with the ending, I felt that like it was good enough to where Lisa did learn a lesson in the end. So yeah, just an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for me too, I would say 8 out of 10. I would say one of the better Lisa episodes. It is something that I really love to like. I really enjoyed. It wasn't like that groundbreaking. It is pretty much like an episode where I could say like, oh, this is a really good Lisa episode that I can actually learn from. It isn't like one of those Lisa episodes where I'm like, oh god, I'm cringing. Just like, for example, School of Shock.
Or that
uh,
episode we won't talk about, but
Okay,
go
I
on.
guess we won't talk about that episode. Obi will not bring it up. All right, so let's head over to our next episode that aired on was it the 26th of November? Literally right after the episode allowed Chris. Oh no. Actually, I was wrong. Loudly Bones came out when the Loud House Christmas came out, so that was that episode. This is actually on the 12th of November, and it's these two episodes that we're going to be reviewing. So let's actually start it off with the first one that came out on that new episode block here. This the cook. So let's take a synopsis here. Lincoln is convinced that the middle schooler's lunch lady is holding a grudge against him and the other sisters. So when you look at this episode, it's all about Chef Pat, whom we never expected to actually see have an episode about. She's literally like a background character, and yet we have an episode about her. What are your thoughts about this process of why we have an episode about this person?
I was actually genuinely surprised that Chef Pat, of all people, would play a significant role in an episode because there wasn't any real demand for Chef Pat that I know of to play a crucial role in the Loud House episode plot. Even so, you know what? I think this is a good sign. I think this is a good sign for this entire show because it really does show how any supporting character has the potential to have a big role, no matter how plausible it is. So honestly, I would say good on Chef Pat, good on Dissa Cook, and good on the Loud House writers for this.
I swear to God, like, how can we get like we have a Chef Pat episode, literally a person just literally is like in the background. So where's my Girl Jordan episode? Where's my yeah,
Ooh.
seriously, where's my
Um,
like Paige episode? Where's like all these other characters that are literally background characters that actually would have an episode? So we get none of them, and we get Chef Pat. What's happening here?
you know,
Why this person? Why not Girl Jordan, or why not Boy Jordan, or the others? I'm freaking out.
Nate, now that you mentioned Girl Jordan, well, that's another topic.
That's in 2
That's
weeks.
another topic for another day.
That's in 2 weeks. We're gonna review that in 2 weeks.
For another day. That's another topic for another day.
Wait, don't tell me you're gonna review it. You don't tell me it's gonna be a bad episode considering what happened in that episode, right?
Oh no, I actually found that particular moment to actually not be bad, and I'll get to why.
We have 2 weeks to review. We'll have 2 weeks until we review that episode. Okay, so oh my God. Either way, like, still, why her? Like, she's just a person who just gives out lunch. Why has she became like a big focus in this episode? I didn't know she would be the one person that actually would have an episode. It's weird. It's weird. Nonetheless,
it shows how
it's a good experiment, I think, for the Loud House crew, I believe, just to, get random characters from the background and then start having their own episode and link them to Louds. Yeah, I guess that's what we're going with now.
Yeah, they say anyone can cook. Well, just the cook anyway. Pretty much the motto here is anyone can play a big role in a Loud House episode.
Right. Well, nonetheless, like I said, I'm freaking out the fact that we actually have a Chef Pat episode. Why haven't we had a Girl Jordan? Anyways, let's talk about that later. So let's actually head over to the episode where we get to see Lincoln and Lynn get bad lunches when Chef Pat distributes food to them, which led them to think that one of their siblings may have led her to have a grudge on the Louds. Ruling out Luann, Luna, and Lenny since they also have bad lunches. They had to ask that one that may have started it all, which was Lori. All right, so first off, Lori's back. Yay! She's back another episode. Yay!
Yeah, congrats.
And
she's finally coming back.
Do you like the random moments where Lori would play a significance in an episode?
I do really like that we got to see Lori again. I really do like that we got to see her interact with the siblings again. I did not like, however, how Lincoln and Lynn made Lori drive 3 freaking hours. 3 hours just so they could get good lunch meals. I mean, how desperate are they to make their sister drive literally 3 freaking hours to help resolve their situation? I mean, come on, guys. Do they not stop to think that Lori has a life in college and doesn't have time to solve your first world problems? Come on.
I mean, the other thing too is that when they threatened her too, the fact that like say, hey, I'm going to do this or that to you every time I get a bad lunch. And I think it kind of makes sense for Lori to actually try to fix the problem, even if it's like one visit, then she had to drive back 3 hours later. I mean,
exactly.
It's and the other thing too is like I understand the plot point in this too, considering that Lori actually did possibly have a grudge on Chef Pat, the fact that she actually like messed up her hair. So it's like, okay, it makes sense why Lori should go back. Nonetheless, it was just a random appearance of Lori, and it still didn't fix the problem. So I'm like, okay, you're just one random moment. So I'm guessing it's just more of a fan's moment where it's like, Lori's back, yay!
Yeah, exactly. Like honestly. This is what kind of bothers me about this, though. And I mean, when it comes to the entirety of season 5, you had you had the potential to make more and more Lori episodes. You have the potential to make Lori work as a character. Take, for example, Lori Days, for example. You even had the potential to make a good Lori episode with her in college. But no, like, Loud House season 5, like, treats Lori more as sort of a plot device in terms of Lincoln's plots rather than a character that needs to be given her own focus in her own environment. Like, you know what I mean? Like season 5, like they definitely underhanded Lori. Like they definitely could have
Mm,
used Lori so much better this entire season. And honestly, this episode, while I do like Lori pretty much appearing in the episode, let me tell you, like there's still a lot to be desired in terms of her character in season 5.
exactly. And I already talked about hey having her own show, but we already talked about like how bad she is in season 5. I mean, Ghosted being that one episode, and a lot more other things. But yeah, I mean, to say the least, I don't know how they're really portraying Lori here, but hopefully in season 6 we get to see more of like Lori in college and actually have her have an episode. Maybe they were putting it more into Casa Grandes, considering that Lori did have an episode in college in the Casa Grandes. Still, it's interesting how they're going to mix those two together. But yeah, I would say Chef Pat had really had a grudge on Lori. Nonetheless, Lori still came over there. They were thinking that this whole situation where Lori had to apologize and pretty much gave a mug to her would you pretty much like clean up all this would pretty much like resolve the solution, but at the end they still end up having bad lunches. So um sorry, I'll skip the next part here, so we'll just go straight to this part here, Omid. um so because of this, Lori had to drive a long distance to visit Royal Woods Middle School to apologize to Chef. It seems like she accepted apology. Lincoln's investigation continues, considering that they still have bad lunches. After talking with Flip, since he was also in the same class with Chef Pat, the kids would also notice that their mom was there too. So they would question Rita about what happened, and it turned out the grudge was all because of a graduation party that Pat didn't attend. How was your reaction when this was the reason why they had bad lunches?
Okay, while I didn't expect Chef Pat to play a major role in an episode, what was even more unexpected was that somehow Chef Pat would be connected to Rita. But that's actually one thing I really admire about this season of The Loud House. Like, this is actually a good sign, like I said, because this actually does help build connections to background characters
Mm-hmm.
that you'd least expect, making this sort of expand upon the Loud universe in a way. Like, you're actually, helping build, expand, and develop not just the relationships between the Louds and the supporting characters, but also the entire Loud House universe in the grand scheme as well.
I think I like the fact that we actually are like, I mean, the connection with Chef Pat and like some secondary characters are actually like really interesting. And the fact that actually Chef Pat was friends with Rita, that's saying something. It's like, oh, I didn't know this. This is a surprise to me too. And the fact that actually like Zach's mom is also a friend with Rita as well. I didn't know about that either. So apparently high school was totally crazy for Rita.
Oh man, like I'm just thinking, like imagine if this episode took place where like somehow Zach's mom also screwed over Chef Pat in a way. Like it would be not just Lincoln that would be getting bad lunches, but also Zach too. It's like
Right.
imagine if they went that direction. And then like
I
you got
wonder.
like and then you got like Lincoln, Lynn, and Zach, like pretty much the trio working together.
I
But that's fanfic material for for all you guys. So let me just say to all the fanfic writers, there you go. There's your meal. There's your meat.
just
There's your
write
food I
up
just gave
something.
you.
Just
You're
write up something,
welcome.
guys. Here's the thing that kind of surprised me though. This is the reason why Chef Pat was just being mean to Lynn and Lincoln. Um, but this is like a long time ago. Why would you do it to their kids?
Exactly. They didn't play a major part of this, obviously, so they weren't born yet. So I'm just like, if you're gonna punish someone, then punish just Rita instead. Why go for the kiss, like you just said? Like it's not like they had anything to do with this. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
it's just because they're related to Rita. It's just because they're Rita's kids. They can't help it. It ain't their fault.
I know it's not even their fault. So I don't know what I just felt like. This whole thing just became like a big, Lynn and Lincoln just, trying to investigate and stuff like that. It still led up to a pretty interesting episode, but still a grudge, just holding a grudge for like what, over 20 years.
Exactly. Not to
What?
mention, it's also really petty. That's also extremely petty of Chef
I
Pat.
know. Like just because you weren't invited to Rita's party and now you just throw it on their kids. It doesn't make any sense, but
Chef Petty Pat. Chef Petty Pat.
yeah. Did you expect Pat, Rita, and Lynn and Zach's mom to actually become like friends? How surprised were you when you saw this?
I was surprised to find out that like I said, Rita was friends with Chef Pat because they never really had any interactions or connections beforehand. But then again, it does make sense when you consider the fact that Chef Pat was still mad at Rita at the time. However, in terms of like Rita being friends with Zach's mom, honestly, I don't think it's that surprising because when you do think about it, Lincoln and Zach are close friends. So, naturally, it would make sense that their moms would become BFFs as well.
I'm kind of wondering, like, um, was Zach's mom back in high school like a reason why she was obsessed with aliens, for example? It looked like back then she was a cool chick. How did she become an alien? Was it because she married a person who loved aliens?
Yeah, that could actually be the case. That could actually be the case.
Oh no, we gotta look back at Zach's mom's history now. Hopefully, we get to see more episodes where Rita's actually like a high schooler. We've seen that before. Remember Loud House movie?
Yes, yes. The one where Rita and Lynn Senior first met. Oh my God, yes, that was so touching.
We need more of that, please. Hopefully.
Loud House prequel episodes. Let's go.
All right, so knowing the answer, Rita continued to say that she invited her. What we would find out was the invite was never given to her because it was in a book that she placed back on the shelf. Chef Pat would find the invitation, which pretty much was a whole misunderstanding. How do you like this whole solution to this ending? How do you like the whole ending to this investigation that Lynn and Lincoln had to go through?
Let me just say this that like the mystery aspect and the Lincoln and Lynn aspect are done superbly. Like, oh my gosh, like this is the episode, this is the team up that we've been waiting for. Lincoln and Lynn to solve a mystery together. That seems pretty awesome. Like, because like as much as we like Lincoln and seeing Lincoln have fun with his friends, it's nice for him to take a break from his friends once in a while, and then get to sharing an episode with one of his sisters in middle school. In middle school, like ever since middle school, we've been waiting for like a legit Lincoln and Lynn episode, and there you go. We finally got it. We want more of this. Hello, Loud House season 6.
I mean,
hear us out, please.
they're both in junior high, so little obvious that you need to actually have like some episodes where Lynn and Lincoln, partner up or hang out with. I mean, we had that back in Middlemen, for example. Then that's it. Then we also did have like Lynn and Lincoln episodes. Like, say for example, what was it? Space Invader. That was like, I think the last episode we get to see like Lynn and Lincoln together until we actually saw that episode Middlemen. So yeah, why haven't we had those episodes yet? And I love the fact that this episode in particular was actually really clever. The fact that they actually teamed up and actually worked on investigations. But to answer the question about this ending here, oh, Chef Pat, you really suck. Really, just because you forgot about an invitation on your book and then you totally hold a grudge this whole damn time. Yeah, it's a little bit of a misunderstanding for sure, but still not what.
Yeah, like Chef Pat, like let me tell you, like she was really petty there, but like as for like Lincoln and Lynn and the mystery aspect, like I said, they're done really well. They are pretty much the highlights of the episode.
So how did you like the whole ending of the episode where, they actually hold that party that Chef Pat missed?
Flipolini!
Wait, are we blaming Flip because of this now? Like, this whole misunderstanding?
Of course. Even at a young age, Flip somehow still manages to be a menace that ruins things for everyone. Go figure.
You know what's weird? How many times have we seen young Flip this whole season, right? Like, I feel like we've seen a lot of it.
There was this one. There's actually 2 times that we've seen young Flip. Once was in Flip Miss Carol, and the other was in a flashback. Remember that when Lincoln and Clyde
Recipe for Disaster?
Recipe for Disasters,
yeah.
The flashback of Recipe for Disaster. So technically, this is the 3rd time we've seen him, and let me tell you, he is just as bad as he was just as bad as he was in his young age as he is currently now in his old age. Let's just
it's weird. It's weird seeing how a timeline goes, because you get to see like Recipe for Disaster, a very young Flip talking about cooking, and then you get to see like then you get to see Flip in a Flip Miss Carol. Then he grows his beard, and then right after that you get to see him in high school with the beard on. So it's kind of like it's having its own timeline as well of just a young Flip growing up.
and then of course you see him like messing around with Chef Pat, and that's one of the contributing factors as to why she never got the invitation. So I'm just like honestly, like I said, some things just never change, do they?
No, I guess not. I guess Flip continues to be Flip. But nonetheless, I mean, I like the fact that they came into this resolution where it's like Chef Pat will give you your party, and hence you get to see everybody get invited. Even Lori, for example, even Zach's mom, even like everybody from that high school class, pretty much just said, "Hey, let's have a party for Chef Pat," and it turned out to be a very fun time. So nonetheless, it was actually cool to actually have Lynn and Lincoln actually set up that party too.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, you got to give a legit reason. I mean, do lean a legit reason for Lori to stay in Royal Woods. Okay, like she can't just like drive 3 hours to the cafeteria, then 3 hours back immediately. No, that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole mystery of Lori will still be whatever. Nonetheless, let's actually move on to our ratings here. Or well, first off, any other things you want to bring up in this episode?
Yes, I just like to say this. I would love to see more Rita episodes with Chef Pat at her side. Like have it be like sort of a you know a retat. Like you know how it's like I kind of want to play. I kind of want to have Chef Pat play a more you know bigger role in the series overall. Like pretty much whenever there's a Rita episode, like Rita um has her best friend Chef Pat with her. I kind of want to see that because they do have the potential to make the dynamic work. Like have
Mm.
Chef Pat be Rita's own Clyde McBride in a sense. That'd be pretty dope to see. Like Lynn
Here's the
Senior with Kotaro,
I
Rita with
I
Chef Pat. I like to see that.
I would really love to see more young, like the younger adults, for example. Like you get to see a young Lynn Senior, you get to see a young Rita Loud, you get to see, um, young Zach's mom, for example. I was wondering like how this actually came together, where Rita and Lynn and Zach's mom actually were friends in high school. You know, kind of make it like I don't know if you watch Big City Greens, but remember that one episode Green Acres where like we get to see Bill as a kid. Maybe do something like that, you know, see them as like high schoolers, to see them as elementary kids or something like that. It'd be cool to actually see like how they became like all together in Royal Woods to say.
Then again, how considering how the Loud House in general tends to take certain routes, at the end of the day, this is like sort of a pipe dream for us.
Yeah, I don't know. I would still love it though if they actually do it. And the other thing too, please let's have more Lynn and Lincoln episodes because it feels like now that they're in the same class or in the same school building together, they should actually have more episodes together. You know, just to
Exactly.
yeah,
Especially when you consider the fact that the Loud House is basically about Lincoln living with his sisters. So it does make sense when you really do think about it that like in season 6 and beyond, you would have more episodes in middle school focusing on Lincoln and Lynn rather than just Lincoln and his friends all the time.
right. But yeah, I mean, that's all I can say about like more things I can actually learn from this episode. But how would you rate this episode, Omid?
I would rate it an 8.5 out of 10. There was just some things that sort of rubbed me off the wrong way. Like Lori, I felt was just a throwaway. Like she was sort of played a role as sort of a plot device for Lincoln and Lynn. And plus the fact that, like I said, it like just the fact that they made Lynn drive all the way 3 hours, like I said, was sort of not cool on Lincoln and Lynn's part. And also the fact that Chef Pat, like her reasonings for giving Lincoln and Lynn bad lunches, while it made for a good mystery, I felt that her reasons for doing so were just way too petty, like I said. However, what really elevated this episode for me was just the fact that we finally get what we should have gone like episodes ago with Lincoln and Lynn, sharing an episode together, working together, especially to solve a mystery together. Like that's another plus. And also the fact that you know there's actually a connection that came off as sort of a twist for us that we never saw coming, which is that Chef Pat somehow had a history with Rita. It's like, whoa, okay, didn't
Oh
expect
yeah,
that. Like so, honestly, when you combine the good and the bad, let me tell you, you get something that what is you sort of like to call it a well-worthy meal in the sense more of a it's a well-worthy meal. Wouldn't call it a 5 stars, but I would give it like 4 stars at the least.
mm. Um, But I have to say this though, the mystery aspect with Lynn and Lincoln, we never get to see that ever in like the Loud House. We always get to see like Lynn tackle Lincoln. We always get to see Lynn just try to be aggressive with Lincoln. But definitely this time around, they actually work together, and I really like it. Like, okay, this is no rough housing anymore. They actually do work together and actually try to figure out the problem, what's been happening with their lunches. So I love that mystery aspect. Omid was right about the fact that Lori was a throwaway. Nonetheless, I still love the fact that she was actually there in the episode. Um, just for one thing, that was it. It
Just
really
for
didn't
one
help.
thing.
Yeah,
Just for
it
one
really didn't
thing.
help, and it also didn't help them. So it's like, okay, whatever. And I love the whole surprise aspect. The fact that we actually get to see like, oh, I didn't know that Rita actually knows about Chef Pat. I didn't know that Rita knows about Zach's mom. I didn't know that we're actually friends in high school. So it kind of tells me like, does the Loud House give us more surprises? I believe we're gonna probably see it more in season 6, but we'll see. My rating for this is 9 out of 10. I actually did really enjoy it, and hopefully we get to see more of what we saw in This the Cook, happen more in future Loud House episodes. All right, so let's head over to our last episode that was also aired. That also aired during the 12th of November. This is the sister episode of This the Cook. It is For Sale by a Loner. So let's head over to synopsis here. The synopsis reads: Mr. Grouse attempts to find some peace and quiet after moving away from the Louds. Oh man! So first off, we have a Mr. Grouse episode. Whoa, wait! Did we have a Mr. Grouse episode before? I don't remember. Did we have one?
Well, there were actually a few episodes, several episodes in which he played a big role. Like first was a Good Sports with Lynn and Diamonds Are Forever with Lola. But in terms of a Mr. Grouse solo episode, yeah, we never got a Mr. Grouse solo episode.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm really interested in the fact that like this is all him. This is not with a Loud sister or anything like that. This is pretty much his decision and his episode, how he's going to run his problem and how is he going to fix it, that kind of thing. So I love this whole thing here. Like we have a Chef Pat episode in the beginning. Now we actually have a Mr. Grouse episode. We're not focusing on the Louds mostly, which I thought was interesting. How do you like this whole concept here?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, this was quite a surprise that we would actually get a Mr. Grouse solo episode. Then again, I feel that it was sort of overdue because the more and more you see Mr. Grouse as a character in the series, the more and more you think he does have potential to have to hold his own episode, especially when it centers around his drive, his motivation to move away from the Louds, because let's be honest, we've seen that he's had a prominent history of being so annoyed with the Louds with their noise. He's had a prominent history of being grumpy with them, being annoyed with them. So this episode really does tackle on like what happens when there is paradise for him, or too much paradise.
Thank you. I'm getting up more episodes now. um, all right, so yeah, like a Mr. Grass episode, interesting little concept here. I wonder how this episode is going to be. So let's actually head straight to the episode here, where he would get annoyed recently from the Loud's recent antics, whether it be from them intruding her house or just being quote unquote loud. Finally, yeah, right. Finally fed up with it, Mr. Grouse is selling his house. So, what are your thoughts on this, and why right now to move?
Yeah, like honestly, it's no surprise he did this. Like Mr. Grouse just up and said, Loads, this is the final straw. I'm going to move so far away that I won't be able to brag about it. I would rather tear out my brainstem, carry the middle of the nearest
Okay,
railway
Squidward.
intersection, and skip rope with it than go on living where I do now. Like
Wow,
he
you're really bringing
actually
up the
managed to do
Squidward
that.
here.
He actually managed to move out of the house. And because of this, the Louds are devastated by, his move, because, he is like family to them. Like he may not be allowed himself, but based on the fact that, he's lived, next to them for a very, very long time. So in a way, like they consider him his like second or third family, like right alongside the McBrides. Like, so you really do feel for both sides. You feel for the Louds because they lost their neighbor. They lost someone, a person who they share a bond with, who they share a connection with, not just physically but also socially as well. But then on the other hand, though, you can actually see where Mr. Grouse is coming from because, for God's sakes, the man needs a piece of quiet. Damn it!
I mean, he's pretty much an old man, and he needs a peace and quiet. But you have neighbors that are full of loud people, pretty much. Um, I have a feeling why now. I'm like, you had 5 seasons, and now you actually thought about moving. um, but they have been loud ever since. What made you actually get ticked off? Was it really just the recent things that happened, where her house got destroyed by Lynn, or when Lincoln continued to work on a jetpack and it got destroyed? It's really interesting. But
Hey,
Mr. Grouse deciding to move like after 5 seasons, I thought it would actually be like something that you would see from like season two. Hence that one episode of Squidward, for example.
hey, come on, Mr. Grouse. Look at it this way. It could have been worse. It could have been reef blowers. Reef blowers? That's the most childish thing I've ever heard of. But it's
But it's fun.
fun.
I'm not going through that line like this.
How could
All
you
right, so
possibly have fun? Well, those oversized hair dryers.
uh, all right, so Mr. Grouse would find housing options around Royal Woods, from Cheryl and Meryl's place, the retirement home Sunny Shores, and even in Coach Bukowski's boat, to which he didn't like him at all. Explain your thoughts on Mr. Grouse's options of living.
Okay, I really do like the fact that um they share the episode shows like each living situation as being different from one another, but then at the same time though they all have one thing in common. Mr. Grouse hates them. Mr. Grouse pretty much sees the flaws in Cheryl and Meryl's place, in the retirement home, and of course Coach Bukowski's goat, because let's be honest, who want to get seasick? Am I right?
He was
um
seasick just because of like the lake just pretty much being a lake. Yeah, and they
Where,
do
where
make
was the nurse lady
waves.
in this, by the way? Where was the nurse lady in this?
Oh,
Like,
is she gone now? Is she gone now? What happened?
Coach Bukowski, what did you do? You didn't
Oh
mess.
no!
You didn't mess up with the nurse like you did with Ms.
But
Agnes
here,
Johnson, did you?
no. But here's the thing: like, we haven't seen those two in forever, and you got to be a continuation episode eventually. I don't know. It's interesting because we did get to see them in Racing Hearts, for example, but I don't think we saw them after that.
Yeah, but that was all the way in season 3,
See, long time. It's been a long time.
which, by the
um,
way, is the best season in my opinion. Season 3 is still my favorite season.
all right, good opinion there. I say season four, but I don't know. I have to look back at my seasons again. Um, but here's the thing, though. I mean, like, look, you're going to visit. You're going to be going through different houses. You know that different environments are going to happen. I thought Cheryl and Meryl's place would be actually a fine fit, but Cheryl and Meryl have their own thing. Boot scooting. I guess boot scooting has been a thing that they love.
Boom scooting, boom scooting.
Yeah.
Somebody say it's so funny.
Well, then again, they're sisters, so what do you expect? Um, then of course, what do you expect from Sunny Shores? You know that there's going to be a crazy thing that's happening all the time in that retirement home. You get to see those episodes where, like, what was it, Pop Pop have those episodes, and you get to see how crazy it is over in Sunny Shores. So to say the least, I know that he's a retired guy. He could also be fitting in a retirement home, but still, the craziness that happens there is kind of like the same thing as Loud House. You know what though? I mean, if what was it, Mr. Grouse actually was able to actually withstand the seasickness, I would actually not be bad with a room in the house and a boat to say. It's cool. Like, live in a boat. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm on a boat. On a boat.
Hey, don't say
Everybody
hey,
look at
hey,
me
hey,
because
hey,
I'm sailing on a boat.
hey, that's not a clean song. All right. Anyways, after going through his listing, he would find a place in the woods, thanks to Flip, out of all people. And it turned out the one place he greatly appreciates with the quiet amenities and the location, it was in the woods. So first off, how'd you like this whole John DiMaggio interaction? You got Flip and Mr. Grouse pretty much interacting with each other, who are voiced by the same guy. How'd you like about this?
I just love this because it's basically John DiMaggio basically talking to himself. Like you see John DiMaggio talking to himself when you see Mr. Grouse and Flip like talking to each other, and just the fact that like it really does give you that sense that yes, John DiMaggio is a fantastic actor, because let me tell you, he's got that voice range. He knows that voice range down to a T, and John DiMaggio is a legend. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
it was just weird considering like I've seen like great voice actors, like let's say for example Lola Lana. You got Greg Griffith pretty much just voicing each of them. You get to see like Jessica DeSico doing Lynn and Lucy. Same voice actor there.
And now John DiMaggio with Flip and Mr. Grouse.
And then again, like he's a talent too. So it's like, okay, so if you're going to be a very talented actor, why not have the same scene where you actually voice the same character? Kind of like Seth MacFarlane when he does like the voice of what's it, Peter, what is it,
Peter
Mr. Peter
Griffin.
Schmidt. No, with Peter, yeah. Seth MacFarlane did Mr. Peter Schmidt and the Doctor too, and Peter Griffin and Brian Griffin and like a lot of other people.
Yeah.
It just
that's a really, that's a really clutch. That's a really very awesome voice acting technique. Just about to do voice multiple characters in the same scenario. That's really awesome. And Jessica DeSico, John DiMaggio, Greg Griffin, and others really nailed that technique down to a T.
Oh yeah, most definitely. All right. So second, would you? Okay. So here's a question for you, Omid. Would you want to take one of Flip's places,
Okay, Nate.
or Rick's places, if you want to go there?
Oh, you're talking about me, Nate. You're talking
No,
about me?
not that Rick. Not that Rick.
No, just
No.
just kidding. But honestly, now given at the guy that you just mentioned, I'm just gonna say, what do you think? Okay, who are we talking
It
about
worked.
here? Who are
But
we
it
talking
worked
about
though.
here?
But it worked though. Mr. Grouse ended up having a very nice place. But it is his
Yeah,
mom's
but
place. But it's his
even
mom's place.
so,
But still.
even so, you can't really trust. You can't really trust the guy.
There's a one time that Flip actually has something good for Mr. Grouse for anybody that he gives like anything he sells to. All right, so here's the thing: he ended up having his own place, and he had pretty much his alone time. He's pretty much chilling, relaxing, doing gardening, and all that jazz. But with all this alone time, the boredom and loneliness that Mr. Grouse would start to show. That is until Mr. Bullhoffner came out. Apparently, that's his neighbor. So he would do whatever it takes to be a good neighbor to him, whether it be helping him with chores or watching TV shows together. No matter what, he still continued to be more of a terrible neighbor to Mr. Bullhoffner than a good one. So how'd you like the sequence where Mr. Grouse was kind of acting like the Louds when they bothered Mr. Grouse?
Yeah. So pretty much, Mr. Grouse has his own Mr. Grouse now, if you know what I mean. Like, like Mr. Grouse gets a taste of his own medicine, and so like he starts to be like an obnoxious neighbor himself, kind of like how the Louds were towards him. So it's like now Mr. Grouse know how it feels, right? But in all seriousness, no, I felt that like Mr. Bullhoffner was the perfect character to sort of pull off, that kind of neighbor where it's pretty much Mr. Grouse being the loud one to a certain neighbor. Like Mr. Bullhoffner, when you look at Mr. Bullhoffner, you could see that, he's not much of a happy-go-lucky person himself. Actually, quite the opposite.
Yeah, and the thing is that Mr. Bullhoffner, I mean, like he could be one person that you don't want to mess with, and it definitely shows that Mr. Grouse tries to like be a friendly neighbor. Nonetheless, he like was annoying the heck out of him. Like, oh, let me dig this up for you. Oh, let's actually like eat popcorn together and watch TV shows. Let me fix the antenna for you. And then he turned out to ruin everything. And it just tells me like, oh wow, Mr. Grouse is actually learning from his mistake that happened when he did with the Louds. So the fact that he said that he's a bad neighbor just kind of tells you like, oh, Mr. Grouse, I think you kind of got your taste of your own medicine there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still,
I mean, like, it really does make sense when you do think about how, like, the only real companion Mr. Grouse has, like, it's a freaking rock. Like,
a rock that was given by Flip.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, insert Elmo Rocco joke here. Okay.
Oh no! Don't let Elmo come in and get angry. Oh no! Here comes the fire, Elmo.
Yeah, honestly, like if there was one person who would be more pissed off than Mr. Bullhoffner, it would actually be Elmo, just by the fact that Mr. Grouse has a rock and he's talking to a rock.
Don't bring Rocco in here. Not Rocco the Wallaby, but Rocco the Rock. Oh, either way, it was just interesting actually having chemistry with Mr. Grouse and Mr. Bullhoffner. It just tells you that these two cannot work together. Like Mr. Bullhoffner hates people, and then Mr. Grouse wants peace and quiet and wants friends. But nonetheless, it just didn't work out with Mr. Bullhoffner. So After looking back at the pictures with the Louds, Mr. Grouse knows that he definitely missed the Louds. But as he was about to move back, his house was already sold. That is until the Louds were the Louds and actually made the new neighbors leave Mr. Grouse's place. So how'd you like this whole ending to this episode?
The ending was so wholesome. Like the ending was pretty much does show how Mr. Grouse actually like appreciates the Louds more than he thought he did. Because let's be honest, ever since like 11 Louds Sleeping, like we could sympathize with him. While we can be a bit put off by how much he is annoyed and grumpy with the Louds, you can sort of sympathize with him after that episode because let's be honest, like he spent most of his time in the house alone, and that I think that reason like causes him to be sort of you know like grumpy towards us because in a way he sort of feels envious of them
Hmm.
that he's living next to a big family that has each other while in his own house he has no one. So honestly, this really does strengthen the bond, strengthen the deep bond that Mr. Grouse has with the Laos. And let me tell you, it is and it looks like it might have been too little too late, but thankfully um thankfully things do work out in the end and they managed to drive the new neighbors away.
I like the fact that the point that you brought up on me, the fact that they never actually had a moment where, like, Mr. Grouse. We've known this before. Mr. Grouse has pretty much been alone in that house. Nobody was there to pretty much help him out. So who's their next door neighbor? That's the Louds, and the Louds have always been pretty helpful for him. In some of the occasions, especially like that one episode, 11 Louds Leaping. Um, it took them it took him 5 seasons to actually realize, oh yeah, I forgot the Louds have been a really wholesome family. Like, um, you actually found diamonds with Lola. You actually watched sports with Lynn. What happened to those moments? Was it Mr. Grouse? So, after looking at that, it makes sense that Mr. Grouse needed to go back. Just the fact that, like, it's his second family. Yes, he may not have anybody there in that house, but you know what? The Louds are there for him. So it took him a while to realize that. And I thought it was like, oh, there you go. Now you actually understand why the Louds are there for you.
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, after that, like, don't expect it to move out anytime soon either. He's gonna stay there forever.
Probably, which means like probably more loud Mr. Grouse moments, maybe. We
Yes,
already seen it before. Remember Lola and Mr. Grouse, Lynn and Mr. Grouse. Who's next? Lincoln and
I
Mr.
kind
Grouse.
I kind of want to see. You know what I kind of want to see? I kind of want to see. What was it? What was it? What was it? Mr. Krause and Lenny. Imagine how Mr. Krause and Lenny
Hmm.
would work out.
That would be pretty cool, like to have a fashion thing for Mr. Grouse. That'd be pretty cool to actually see. It just gives you more episodes. Like, who's the next Loud to actually interact with Mr. Grouse, or will Mr. Grouse have an episode where he actually like has another friend or something like that? Well, we'll see. It's quite a lot to think about considering like what the Loud House writers are doing right now.
Yeah, definitely. Much like how Dissa Cook helped open doors as to which background characters would have prominent roles in Loud House episodes. I feel like this opens doors to which this Diamonds Are Forever and Good Sport open doors to more Mr. Grouse's main roles and who Mr. Grouse will share a spotlight with, like which Loud will Mr. Grouse bond with next.
Right, right. That just gives you a lot to think about. Maybe the writers are onto something here.
True that.
I'm literally thinking like after these last couple episodes we've seen from the Loud House, like what are they doing? Are we going to see more secondary character episodes? Are we going to see more like Louds interacting with each other or like, some other things? It just tells you like the writers have a lot of things coming up for season 6. It just tells you like, yeah, we can't wait to see what season 6 is gonna be in store.
Season 6 has a lot of potential. Writers, don't squander it. You hear me?
I mean, the potential's right here for these last 2 episodes. Don't mess it up now, okay?
That's what I
All
mean.
right.
Don't.
Anything else you want to bring up from this episode?
Yes. Yeah, this was quite an interesting episode of a Grouseville. Like, honestly, when you do think about it, I like to call this Grouseville because it's literally Squidville with Mr. Grouse.
But the thing is, like, there's no like other people who are like Squidward, for example, in that same like neighborhood. It's just pretty much Mr. Grouse just hopping to other people's like neighborhoods to
well,
say.
Well, honestly, Mr. Ballhoffner is actually pretty much the second Squidward, while Mr. Grouse is the first Squidward. So
Mm.
what do you think
Okay, so
about it?
okay, I guess, but they don't have like the same trait where they like what love clarinets, for example.
Oh man, like, but and also like this really does share similar vibes, similar traits to Squidville in that, like, of course, you got the one grumpy neighbor who moves out of the neighborhood to get away from the loud neighbors, the loud crazy neighbors, and then once he finds the right place, he starts to get bored, and then he starts to become crazy himself.
Right. He would not be that one crazy guy though. I mean, he just tells you that Mr. Grouse is like a really wholesome guy. Okay, he could get angry at Christmas, but at the same time, he's a really nice guy. um, I got nothing else to bring up from this episode. So, Omid, what's your rating on this episode?
Like with Cook, I'm just gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. This was a really solid Mr. Grouse themed episode. Like we've seen Mr. Grouse. The more we see Mr. Grouse, the more we feel that he has potential to have his own episode in the future. And lo and behold, like not only does he have his own episode, but he has his own episode that's actually quite great because you really do sympathize with Mr. Grouse wanting to get away with the peace of quiet, but then once he actually does get the peace of quiet, it turns out that it managed to work too well, up to a point where like he goes from being overwhelmed by the Louds to being underwhelmed away from the Louds, if you know what I mean. This is a really good character study for Mr. Grouse because it really does show how you got to be careful what you wish for, you just might get it sort of story. This does follow the same notes as Squidville, but thankfully it's not lather, rinse, repeat plot formula. It actually does go its own unique, different direction with it, and not only that, but it also helps strengthen the bond between Mr. Grouse and the Louds like much more effectively than it ever has before. So for all those reasons and more, I'm just gonna say that this was a really solid Mr. Grouse episode.
I must say this though. I mean, I don't know what the Loud House writers are doing, but the Loud House writers are definitely looking into what the Casa writers are doing. Like, you get to see secondary characters have their own episodes. So they're doing the same thing at the Loud House right now. Like, they're like, you get to see Chef Pat have an episode, and then you get to see Mr. Grouse have an episode. And then later on, you get to see the McBrides have their episode. So it just tells you like secondary characters are definitely going to be a big impact to what the Loud House is. And knowing that the Loud House has a lot of secondary characters, that means a lot more secondary character episodes are possibly going to come out. So for this Mr. Grouse episode, I mean, like we've seen it before. We've seen how Mr. Grouse is, but it's been always been with the Louds. You get to see him with Lynn Jr. We get to see him with Lola Loud. This is just by himself now, and to say the least, like it turned out to be pretty good. Like even if he's just by himself, he's just going to figure out his own ways. Nonetheless, I think the Louds really do care for Mr. Grouse. It wasn't until like the end where he actually does see the the reason why the Louds are there for him, even if even if they could be an annoyance. So I would say definitely a really awesome Mr. Grouse episode. It is his first time he actually does it by himself. I give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was, pretty decent. Still say it was still like up top really good, but it's not that good where I could actually give it like a 10 or a 9. It's still, like I said, pretty decent. A lot of funny comedy that happens there. You get to see other people living in other situations, but you know what? It's still an awesome episode for Mr. Grouse to showcase like how the Louds really do care for him. And it took him a while to actually see that the Louds that he does need the Louds more than ever, because he's alone and all.
I agree, man.
All right. But yeah, that's pretty much it for us in our reviews tonight. So for those who are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much for checking out our stream. Then remember that you can also listen to our LoudCasa Talks, wherever you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. That's where we're going to be at. So hopefully you can listen to our latest LoudCasa Talks podcast there. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified when we're going to be live coming up next. We'll let you know that our next mini episode review of the our next mini episode of Loud Casa Talks is going to be about the Casa Grandes episodes. So that's going to be next Thursday. We did it today on Tuesday because this Thursday we got plans to do other things. So that's why we decided we did it on Thursday. Next Thursday, and we did it on Tuesday. This week, next Thursday, we're gonna be going back to our old schedule where we always give out reviews on Thursday. So yeah, we're going to be reviewing 4 episodes of the Casa Grandes next Thursday. This includes Throwing Pains, La La Land, Skaters Gotta Skate, and Born to Be Mild. So those are your 4 episodes that we're going to be reviewing next week. So be aware of that next Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. Get ready for more. Get ready for more reviews. Episode reviews coming next week, where we're gonna shift from the Loud House to all the way to Casa Grandes, baby.
And then, of course, our next LoudCasa Talks will be coming soon as we look back at 2021 and see the best moments from the Loud House and the Casa Grandes episodes to the Loud House movies. That will be announced, that'll be announced later on. So stay tuned. So you will get to see, when our next LoudCasa Talks episode will be. But that's pretty much it for us here. Thank you guys for watching our LoudCasa Talks mini episode tonight. Hope you guys love the Loud House episodes as much as we do. And hope you guys enjoyed them. We'll see you guys next Thursday for our next review episode. But until then, my name is Nate.
And this is Omid. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And welcome to 2022, guys. And until next time, smell you later, Louds.